Hey guys, it's Class Wars time for August 2015. Here's the preliminaries, and they start out sort of slow as far as my opponents go. Usually they've been thrown in a really strong, top 16 player within the first, 6 or 7 fights, but this time it really takes a bit. I definitely don't get the top players until the very end, which I guess seems more promising for how the pairing system is set up. But really, I think since the new year, the pairing system has been very. It doesn't seem quite fair and hasn't seemed super great for some of the players on my server. I know Baldwin's been really struggling. He isn't able to do dimensions and stuff very much these days, but even so, he has gotten some really weird pairings, and I've talked to some other people who just get some really disproportionate number of top players, and it's really inexplicable. So if you're struggling with that, I feel really bad for you. I think there are some really deserving players who just are not getting very good draws. But nonetheless, still had a bit of fun. Resistances are really crazy right now because of that unlimited resistance crystal event. They're so high right now. Anybody who did a good job of hoarding up their crystals from dimensions is really in good shape. And so for me, I have a full set of level 10 resistance crystals. So even without dimensions, my resistance is pretty high. So the people who really are able to deal a lot of damage are the ones that have really high reduce res. And so really, I think the only people who have competitive reduce res with myself out of the mages, I think, are Ray 7, Lala. I think the two of them are at 2 9s and 1 8, and I think potentially they could get to all 3 level 9s by Saturday. I'm not totally sure where they're at by that. It's always rumor mill, but until you actually see it, you don't know. So potentially they'll have all level 9s, and then I think Arlie also has 3 level 8s or something around there. So I think they have the most competitive reduce res, and then following up by just sheer strength and maybe having really good dimensions would be like Solara and Chili Mac, and anybody else, maybe Kavla, depending on what she feels like doing this month. So I think those are the players that you watch out for, at least out of the top people. Definitely in this prelim, seeing a lot of different sylphs. Here we have an Electro, so someone bringing in a Zeus. I definitely see a water pet at some point. Maybe a light pet. I feel like I see one or two Athenas, or I don't think I saw a Venus, but somebody bringing a Venus. An Athena. So people really understand that the dark resistance is so high, and I think at this point, my resistance is so ridiculous that it's almost like a dare. It's almost just like saying, I dare you to try to use something else, because it's risky. People using something that isn't their main sylph, they have to take a BR drop, mostly in HP, but it's uncomfortable for people to do that. And so if they're willing to take that step out of their comfort zone, instead of using their dark pet or their light pet, whatever they have built up, or, well, not light pets out of the mages for the most part, but mostly, dark pets, I think that's a challenge for them. But protecting against the main sylphs that are the biggest problems forces people to do that, and I think it makes it more interesting. So here's my buddy Darkhawk Mage. He's definitely the strongest I've seen so far. Definitely for the people like Darkhawk, probably his strength a little lower than his strength can definitely comfortably get into top 100 for finals, and so for most players, definitely for myself, we just bring our dark pets for prelims. If you can comfortably get into finals with your normal setup, then there's no need to do anything fancy or crazy. You just want to make sure that your BR is as high as possible to try and rank well. Definitely, my friend Smartass, she's struggling to get into the top 16 more, so she'll probably do some things with her astrals or whatever to make sure that she has enough BR to get into finals. into Warlord's Hall, I mean. And so yeah, so there are definitely other people on the cusp of either getting into the top 100 or getting into Warlord's Hall, so top 16 will push their BR a lot. That said, probably the top 10 players don't have to worry too much about that type of thing. And here's Ors, formerly Sushi, who, you know, of course I would love to see come back to the game as well, and I think Ors would too. Yeah, he is one of the people who end up bringing a light pet. I get a nasty stun on him though, so there's not much he can really do here. I think he had quite a bit of success with that light pet though, even though it's not too much of an issue for me, and he wouldn't deal much damage to me. I have a ton of light resistance. It is a little bit weird doing light dimensions for class wars. It's not something I'm used to. Last month, you know, I had 2 advanced dark dimensions, 1 expert dark, and 2 expert winds, and that's it. You know, no light resistance. I had some light crystals, but that was just for Asher. But now I definitely have to protect against light, and not just like a little bit, like a lot of it. And just because the Odins are so terrifying. Definitely, if Lala has her act together with Dimensions, there's a very good chance that she will win Class Wars Finals. I think she wants to. I mean, she has had such an awesome run this month. Her server won Chaos Wars, and last month her team won Titan War. So I think, you know, pulling off a hat trick and winning all 3 would be really amazing. That said, of course, I think in particular myself and Ray 7 are really trying to get in her way. I think Chili Mac will try to make a go of it, but I don't think his reduced res is quite high enough. Same with Solara. I think Solara and Chili both kind of suffer from having a very, very strong tune, but not having enough reduced res. Whereas myself, Lala, and Ray have very high reduced res. Arlie also has pretty good reduced res. I don't know what her plans are. She doesn't have an Odin, and so I imagine her bringing either Dark Pet or trying with a surprise, which would be much weaker in BR. So I'm not sure what she feels like doing there, or how competitive she feels like being, but she could try and make a go of it if she wanted to, at least as far as her player stats go. So here we have a water pet, which is always fun to see. Definitely seeing a lot of variety, and this is just another part of that. I am a little bit surprised to see one during prelims. I was expecting definitely some change-ups, you know, in finals. I don't expect to see as many dark pets as we once did. You know, I think people fall back to those dark pets quite often, but I don't think we'll see as many this time around. And oh, and my Devour Soul ends up taking her out before the troops. One advantage to having as many front attacks as dark pets do. Sorry if you hear a bunch of random noises in the videos for Class Wars this month. I'm visiting my parents, and so, you know, the dog is barking, things are just tapping all over the house. When it's just me in my own apartment, it's a much more controlled sound, but right now it's just pure chaos. Also, playing-wise, I was not playing that fantastic tonight. I kept on hitting Death's Harvest way too early in my Sylph mode, and I kept on noticing it, but I also was pretty tipsy. My friends and family all went out for dinner last night, and they managed to get me really drunk, and so it was just, it was not a pretty sight. But it was fun, nonetheless. I was barely holding my head up during all of this, but still a good time. But here's Ray 7. This is one of 2 fights that I have with Ray, and I mean, I was totally mortified by how much damage she was dealing. Wipes out my troops pretty quickly. Just the Medusa manages to live. I don't have as good of gear on the on the Triton, but yeah, that was huge. You know, I don't get a Guardian rune out. Maybe I was a little bit overconfident about about my resistances, but I don't know why I wouldn't throw up that Guardian rune after seeing how much she was dealing to the troops and everything. So And Ray, I think, just looking at that, is definitely one of the favorites. I think it's really up to Lala. I think Lala could easily block Ray's win, or at least beat Ray, if she decides to stack up a lot of win resistance. Ray is sort of predictable in that sense, is that she always picks a win pet. At the same time, I think pretty much everybody I speak to, and including my, I am definitely part of this, just has an enormous amount of respect for the fact that Ray has just unwaveringly used a win pet, and it seems sort of absurd at first, but it's, I think it's, I sort of find it endearing, so I really like that, and I don't always agree with necessarily with how Ray plays, other things, runes or whatever, but Sylph choice is always just puts a smile on my face. So here we have a light pet. This is was Asher's choice, but I don't think last time in finals, but I don't think this is really something that he can do again. Now that people are protecting it against Odin, I think well, Odin or Loki, but I think all the players who have a light plus dark sylph now have made them Odin, at least out of the mages. And so protecting against Odin means that light pets are at almost the same disadvantages as dark pets. Here's Solara bringing his big wind sylph to prelims, and he's playing, sometimes he has a second Medusa somewhere in there, a second wind sylph, but I guess he went with water and wind. I didn't really know where Solara's resistances were or whatever, but I do know what his will crystals look like, so I knew I was going to fare better against him than I did against Ray. Ray has very big will crystals, and Solara probably has level 7s. Maybe he's thrown in some level 8s by now, but I'm not totally sure. He has a new outfit on, which kind of looks interesting. Definitely like the wings, they look very feathery. And he gets a nice stun on me. I actually would much rather be stunned in Sylph mode than be stunned outside of Sylph mode, so that I am very glad that I was able to awaken before he got that Ice Bolt out. The problem about getting stunned outside of Sylph mode before you want to awaken is, of course, that there's a really high risk that they can keep you out of Sylph mode for much longer than you'd like to be, and deal quite a bit of damage that way, or continuously have the wind sylphs use steel, and that can be very, very dangerous. So for me, I actually prefer to be stunned in Sylph mode. Some people think, I'm going to be losing awakening points during my Sylph mode, but to me, I think it's lower risk than getting stunned outside of Sylph mode when your opponent has enough awakening. Getting stunned at the beginning is not a huge deal. So I try and stun Solara. I don't think I had a lot of successful stuns on the top players this time around, so that's not too fantastic. Oh, he gets one on my Medusa. I do have Goddess of Prosperity. I think people think it's a little bit weird that I don't bring Goddess of Prosperity as my default troop, but my Medusa is set up with a lot of support skills, whereas my Goddess of Prosperity is set up to be a main player sylph, and those are two very different things. Don't know if I'm able to wipe out Solara. It looks like that's a no. Oh, a big Delphic, so maybe I do pull it off. Don't know what quite happened there at the end. Didn't see any rune or anything. Or did he throw the heal rune? Oh, I'm losing track. The dog is walking circles around my bed. It's just, what a mess. It's kind of funny though. It is a little bit better. I was worried about my parents' internet, and turns out it's alright. The new PC is fast enough that even with so-so internet, I'm actually doing alright. And here's Chili Mac, one of 3 Odins, and then Solara didn't have the Odin on his player, he had the Odin on his U-Demon, and so that's a little bit different. you know, I'm definitely not going to be getting an Odin anytime soon. I know people really want to see me do that. I'll go over in a tune overview, kind of what my plans are, but I'll probably do that Saturday. I'll try and collect up the video footage. I'm not totally sure when I'm going to be able to voice that. I have some free time now, but I'll be busier later this weekend, so it might be a little bit of delay for the finals video and the overview. This fight with Chili is just the silliest fight out of the bunch because both our resistances are so high and we don't have enough reduce res to do anything about it. So it's almost like a complete crapshoot. Later in the evening, it was like the last BG time or something, and I went into BG with Chili and we tried to have a fight, and I knew it would take forever, and so I told him, I was like, let me get like a few kills and then we can fight. And so I got a few kills, went into a fight probably 10 minutes, not even, and probably like 5 minutes into the BG having started, and we didn't end up being able to finish the fight. We got to like 450% damage increase, and then the BG stopped. You know, it stopped a little early. It didn't go the full 25 minutes or whatever, but yeah, we didn't have enough time to finish the fight. It was taking so long. I think we were just barely getting into 5-digit numbers for how much damage we were dealing. So this fight, I think it was really more about who was dealing more damage to each other's kids and to each other's troops. The damage on the players is not big at all, and so you can see that my damage on the troops is decent, but yeah, it's a little bit hard to tell because our troops are dealing a lot of damage to each other as well. But it looks like I have a bit of an advantage. I do get into Sylph mode sooner, but then again he gets a stun, so I don't know. Even through the fight I couldn't tell whatsoever. You know, it hadn't the slightest clue in the world which one of us was going to win on the tiebreaker. You know, I've had I think it was just Night Chili or one of his friends was telling me that that Elite Club told them that at a tiebreaker the winner is random. So anybody who takes Elite Club seriously is out of their minds. There is a tiebreaker. It's probably who deals the most damage, but yeah, I don't think these developers and whatever totally know how this game plays out half the time. You know, they've also told some of my friends that, you know, the more crit you have, the higher your rate will be, which is total nonsense because there's definitely an upper bound. There is such thing as having too much crit. There's definitely having too little as well. So yeah, it's utter nonsense. But here's Ray again. This time I think he goes a little bit better. And by a little bit, I mean really just a wee bit better. I did ask Ray if she got Lala. She said she did, but that Lala's resistances were not prepared for prelims. So you know, if Lala wasn't prepared for Ray, and it sounds like Chili did beat Lala at some point. I don't know if Lala really is going to have the dimensions for finals. She might be able to pull it off, but you know, there's only so much you can really do between now and Saturday. I mean, at best, maybe you can get in 3 experts from last night ready for her finals. So yeah, I'm not totally sure if she's going to be able to pull it off there, but you never know. She is definitely by far has the most BR and has some of the best reduced res and has that Odin, so there's really no counting her out. And Ray's also talking about just there's so much resistance being thrown around. Really, they didn't give any way other than Wild Shop to have people be able to have their reduced res keep up with how high the resistances are getting. So those two things sort of need to go together, but they've pretty much just let the regular resistances, the defensive resistances, go crazy without really giving any sort of path for will crystals, which is Makes things a little bit difficult. It means for very, very long fights. Very, very long. Definitely, I didn't see any Chaos Runes from these top 16 players in prelims, but out of the people, you know, here some drunk gets one on me, and some of the players towards the beginning were definitely using a lot of Chaoses. Of course, I'm not very pro Chaos Rune, but it definitely can get in the way. It definitely, you know, I prefer playing without the U-Demon most of the time. I sort of force myself to use him in Battleground just because I know that will be important eventually and that I shouldn't get too used to not bringing my U-Demon. But chances are probably in finals I'll also leave him off again. And some drunk was saying that he fared pretty well with this Electro pet. I think he beat my wife, shock and awe, with Electro, and he also probably has very nice dark resistance. So here, you know, I still deal a lot of damage, but I also have pretty good reduced res and a very, very large BR advantage on him. So this wraps things up. It looks like my guildies were really faring quite well and quite a few others on my server, but I'm super happy that a bunch of them were able to get in. I think now it's a bit easier because our cross-server section is getting not weaker, but definitely has fewer people. So a lot of the usual suspects, and then also it looks like Witch Hazel actually made it. He's not in my guild, but he doesn't play these hours very often. But the two I'm super happy about are Mikey G and Miss Nicole. They've been playing the game a long time and are my good buddies, and so I'm super proud of them for finally making Class Wars finals, and I'm just super happy to see that. And as far as the wagers go, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that probably, you know, Chili could possibly make it into the top 3, but it's unlikely if Lala really has her act together about dimensions. So probably Lala, Ray, and myself are somewhere in the top 3, and I think Ray is probably the favorite to win, just being from her resistances and stuff. I think she can actually quite comfortably go get a win. There's not much I can do to block Ray at this much. My dimensions are pretty set in stone, and so it's hard for me to adjust and try and get some more win resistance. So I think she's going to have a really nice run this Saturday. So I'll see you guys then. I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care and have a very good day.